And when your pastry gets quite big, in order to turn it, what you can do is you can roll it over your rolling pin, and then it's easier to lift and turn. I think that's probably just about big enough. Okay. So I'm using a flan ring on a baking tray. You may be lucky enough to have a flan dish, which is more forgiving for leakages. So I'm rolling it over and I'm putting it in the dish. And then I'm going to use this part of my finger to gently ease the pastry into position. You need to be very gentle with it because we don't want to rip it. And I'm actually just pushing it gently into all of the fluted bits of the flan ring. Which will help give it a nice defined shape when it comes out of the oven. Now, I've got a hole in my pastry here, which I need to do something with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear a little bit of spare pastry from the edge, and I'm going to put a little bit of water around the hole to act as glue, and then I'm going to put this pastry over as a little patch, and of course this will be inside the lemon meringue pie when it's finished, so you won't see the fact that it's patched. And I'm now going to leave this as it is, and I'm going to chill it in the fridge because it's always better chilled. I'm not going to take the edges off, I'm going to leave those on for the time being. Okay, so the pastry's been chilling for 15 minutes now, and I want to bake it blind. So in order to bake it blind, I'm going to put some greaseproof paper into the bottom of the pastry case, and then I'm going to put a goodly portion of ceramic baking beans on top of that to weigh down the pastry. If you don't have baking beans at home, anything heavy, lentils or dried beans or rice would work quite well too. So that's now going to go into the oven for 10 minutes. And whilst that's doing its thing, I'm going to finish off preparing the ingredients for the rest of the lemon meringue pie. So I've already started. I'm going to grate the lemon zest first. A couple of things about grating lemon zest. You need to be very gentle. Use the small holes on the grater, and we're aiming for a nice smooth surface at the end. If you end up with ridges on it and lines on it, it means that you have been pressing on too hard, and it means that you will have grated some of the pith in, which we don't want as it's quite bitter and it will change the flavour of whatever it is you're making. Okay, once that's grated, we are going to put it into the saucepan. Going to juice the rest. This is the bit that sometimes people get muddled up with on the recipe. We're going to put the lemon juice into a measuring jug. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this up to 275 millilitres of water. The mistake sometimes people make is that they measure out 275 millilitres of water and then they add their lemon juice to it, and then it makes the filling not thick enough and too watery. Okay, so that goes in the pan, along with 50 grams of sugar. On the recipe it tells you that you need 50 grams of sugar and 100 grams of sugar. The 50 is for the lemon filling and the 100 is for the meringue. And 3 tablespoons of corn flour. And then we're going to heat that up gently. And because we're heating up starch in the corn flour, it's really important that we stir it all the time, because as you all know, the starch grains are now absorbing liquid, and as they heat, they expand, and once they get to 60 degrees, they start to burst. And between 80 degrees and 100 degrees they all complete the bursting process, and that's gelatinisation, and that's what is going to cause this sauce to thicken. And if we don't stir it all of the time, then lumps will form. So it will feel like it's never going to become thick, and then it will all of a sudden, and that's the thickness we are looking for. That's really quite thick. Okay. Once that happens and it bubbles, then at that point you can turn the heat off. You can see the bubbles just erupting from the surface there now. So once you get to that stage, turn the heat off, and you want to allow this to cool before you mix in your egg yolks. If you mix in your egg yolks too soon, then they will just scramble. So this pastry's been in for 10 minutes now. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to lift the greased table with baking beans in it out, and I'm going to pop that into a glass dish. If I put the beans straight back into my plastic container, then it would melt it. I'm now going to take the edge of the pastry off, because until this point I haven't been confident that the pastry won't shrink, but I don't think it will shrink now. So in order to do that, I'm just rolling the rolling pin gently over, and that should remove all of the pastry and leave us with a nice edge. I'm not going to worry too much about these bits of pastry. And I'm going to just put that back in the oven now for another 5 minutes, just for it to continue to cook. In order to make the meringues, I've got the 2 egg whites. The 2 egg yolks are going to go into the lemon filling. The 2 egg whites I'm going to make into meringues. I'm going to use a hand mixer, and I'm going to whisk this until it forms a mousse, and it's light and it's frothy. Okay, once the egg white is whisked and it forms little peaks like that, you're ready to start incorporating the sugar. It's really important that you add the sugar just 1 spoonful at a time. If you add it any more quickly than that, then the meringue is likely to just sink. So 1 spoonful at a time. Really whisk it in. All of the sugar has been incorporated now, and you can see that's really quite stiff, and it's got a really lovely sheen to it. So that's the meringue ready to go. The lemon filling has had time to cool a little bit, so we're going to add 40 grams of butter to that, which will give it a lovely glossy sheen. And That should melt in nicely. And we're also going to add 2 egg yolks, which are going to give it a lovely orangey colour that it's lacking at the moment. And I'm now going to put the filling into the case. And then I'm ready to add the meringue to it. So you don't need to pipe the meringue on if you don't want to. If you were doing it in a GCSE exam, you would get more skills mark if you piped the meringue on. I'm using a Star meringue nozzle, and I'm folding the piping bag over my hand because that makes it easier to fill the piping bag. So once the meringue's in the piping bag, fold up the edges again, and then gently press and twist at the top, and that meringue should work its way down the piping bag. So you see a little bit coming out of the bottom. There it goes. And all we're going to do is just pipe little stars around. I always held my piping bag vertically, and you can see I just press down a little bit to finish off each star. I'm squeezing from the top of the piping bag, not the middle. I'm holding it in the middle just to keep it steady. And that's now ready to go back in the oven for approximately another 15 minutes until it's lightly golden on top.